All right, this is the lesson for Tuesday, March 31st, and we're going to revise. We're going to finish up the assignment for hatching, and so I'm going to sort of shorten it and revise it, and then we're going to move on to some other things. So where we left off at the end of before the break, was I had asked that you block out the 4 elevations of the cottage. So we externally referenced in the floor plans, we rotated it, we also externally referenced in, and I realize this, I'm doing a little bit of copy pasting just to move this along. I've got this down here, the building section. I'm going to shut some of these layers off so we can just see the section. What you're going to provide for me now is I just need to be able to see that you know how to hatch the 3 different types of hatches: the user-defined hatch, the annotative hatches, and the architectural hatches. So if you remember, and if you don't remember this, go back and watch the video. I think it's March 3rd on hatching and annotative hatching. There are 3 different kinds. User-defined was the straight lines that they all look the same no matter what the annotative scale. Architectural are the kind of fun ones. They start with the letters AR and they look like architectural things, patterns. And then the harder ones are the annotative ones. And these are the hatches that when you go looking for them start with the letter AN. And when you use them, you have to click on annotative. And those guys in model space are going to look different in scale, but when you plot them in a viewport, they're all going to look the same, and that's what we're going to play with right here. So what I'd like you to do is finish up your elevations. You do not have to do any more on this one or this one, but I want you to put the windows in for both what I'm going to call the front or the east elevation and the west elevation. And make sure you have the trim in, so 4-inch trim. Any trim from the corner of the building and around the windows and the doors is 4 inches. You can use the offset command. I'll sort of show you how I did it. Here's the door, and then this is the window here. The top head height is at 6'10" above the porch. And I got the porch height from coming over and putting in my building section. So I'll see if I can I'll just quickly show you how I drew all that. And we'll get all this. Okay. I'm going to leave this little stub guy there. So I made sure that I put my 4-inch trim all the way around. Forgot that one. And I'm gonna, so I just offset this porch, corner of the porch, 4 inches to the left. I'm going to match the properties to get them to turn red. So that's MA, or you can go up here to match properties, pick something that's already on that layer, what I call the good layer or the source layer, and then paint the guy that needs to switch. And now I'm gonna TR for trim and clean that up. Okay. I'm going to go to layer 0 and just quickly, that didn't seem so quickly, draw lines down from windows and doors that are already on the floor plan. So I really just draw one line, and because I'm going to go play on these elevations, I'm going to draw a really long line. And then CO for copy. And I'm going to grab it. And this is where you're going to get good at zooming. And I'm just going to copy it from the outside of the frame to the outside of this window frame. And then I'm going to come over here, the inside of the door, the inside of the door, the outside of the window frame, and the outside of the window frame. So that tells me horizontal or vertically where those doors and windows are. If you use these dimensions, this window is 3'6" tall. Same thing with this window over here. The heads are at 6'10" off the porch, which is the same height as the kitchen. When you draw the door, you can use these dimensions right here. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to draw a guideline sort of for myself right there. Offset that 6'10" to get to the top of the window, and down offset 3'6" to get to the bottom of the window. And now, and that's going to be the same thing. I'm going to actually extend, EX for extend, select that boundary, and push that line over and that line over. I'm now going to go to my elevation layers. I'm going to use the yellow one first, A elevation, I think that's medium. This is much slower when I'm trying to make a video. A elevation thin, and I'm going to draw a rectangle in here, REC for rectangle, and I'm just going to click corner to corner. I'm going to do the same thing for this window over here, corner to corner. And for the door, I'm going to hit, I can type REC again or just hit spacebar and go corner to the top of the porch. And now I can get rid of all these. I'm going to delete all these white lines. I am going to offset each one of these guys outward 4 inches to give myself some trim. So O for offset, 4, and then trim everybody goes out 4 inches and out 4 inches. I'm going to hold on to the door a little bit. Now I'm going to put, and I want my trim to be red. It's going to be a little thinner, so I'm going to match properties, find something else that's red, and then paint those things that I want to change red, and hit enter. And now, if you remember, all our window frames are 1.5 inches thick, so I'm going to offset inward 1.5 inches. O for offset, 1.5 for 1.5 inches. Grab this window, bring them in. Grab that window, bring them in. And now I'm going to modify this window so we can see the sash. And all I'm going to do is L for line. Find the midpoint. If your midpoint is not on, if you remember, you can go back down here and make sure this is clicked on. So I'm going to go over here, midpoint to midpoint. I'm going to offset this guy up 1.5 inches. And there he goes. And now I'm going to trim out some extra lines. So TR for trim. I'm going to select everything as a cutting edge. And I'm just going to click, 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 and hit enter. So that's what I want your window to end up looking like. You're going to do the exact same thing to this window over here. This door has a 5-inch stile around all the way around. So I'm going to offset, let me see if I turn this layer on. These again are the dimensions that I'm using. This is going to be glass. These are 2 wooden panels, but all these stiles are 5 inches, and then this is a 2-foot high window. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to O for offset, 5 inward. I am going to draw a line along the top, and there are several ways to do this, but this is just how I can think about it right now. That's quick. I'm going to so there's a line, there's 2 lines there, one on top of the other one. O for offset, type 24 inches and offset that guy down 24 inches. I'm going to offset this guy down 5 inches again. O for offset, 5. There we go. I'm going to draw a line down the middle to split this. L for line. Grab the middle of that. Go straight down. And now I'm going to offset this guy left 2.5 inches and right 2.5 inches. O for offset, 2.5. Left, 2.5 right. So I got a lot of lines here. I'm going to simplify this a little bit by just typing rectangles, REC, and I'm going to go corner to corner, and REC, whoop, corner to corner, and one more, REC, corner to corner. And now I'm going to erase all this extra stuff I don't need. You can go away, you can go away, you can go away. All right, so there's my door. And now I'm just going to explode this, X for explode. Get rid of this little guy here. And now I'm going to extend it up here. F for fillet. You come over here. And I'm missing a little piece of trim right here. It should be 4 inches over. I'm going to offset the door 4 inches just to give me something to trace over. L for line, trace over that. Erase this extra thing I don't need anymore. Fillet. And then match properties. Now I'm looking at this and I have to, as an architect, I would say, oh, which one do I like better? I've got a fat piece of trim here, 6 inches here and 4 inches there. I could move this over if I want. And actually, I think I'm going to do that because it's bugging me. So I'm just going to, let me see if I can do this. S for stretch. And you don't have to do this. You can leave it if you want. But S for stretch. Remember, when you use stretch, you have to use a green crossing window. So I'm going to go upper left to lower right and just grab this line. Enter. Pick a point on that line. I'm going to pick the midpoint and just move him absolutely horizontal 2 inches. And there we go. So make sure you go back and finish this window right here to match that one. And now we're going to, I want you to do the same thing. Put the window in over here and the door to the kitchen and this little porch area in. And then we're going to hatch. So once you've got all your windows and doors in on those two elevations, I want you to switch to layer hatch. And where's my layer hatch? They're all alphabetical. And if you want to get these out of here, you can do that by detaching the X reference. So let's just do that quick for fun. If you look right here, you'll see I still have this X reference and I still have these 3 X references. I can type XR for X reference. And you'll see I have the, oh, there we go. That was weird. These guys are still in there. I can select all 3 of those and detach, 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 close that X reference box. And then when I go look at all my layers, I've just got the ones that I can draw on, and it really cleans up my drawing nicely. So I'm going to switch to layer hatch, which is right down here. And the first, I'm going to put the user-defined hatch in here. They're going to be vertical siding, 6 inches apart. And in order to hatch, I'm going to type H for hatch or come over here. Here's H for hatch. And all of a sudden you'll see your dashboard changes. That should be off. And I'm going to go down right here. Here's where all my patterns are. It only shows me 4. To show me a much bigger window of patterns, I'm going to click the down arrow. And I'm going to go all the way to the bottom to user defined. So that's my user defined hatch. Right now, all those lines are going to come in 1 inch apart and horizontal. 0 is a horizontal angle. I want them to be vertical, so you can sort of see if I hold my finger what it does. There we go. That's not what I want. So I'm going to escape out of that, or whoops, delete that. So I want user defined hatch. We'll go back to that. And user defined, I want these guys 6 inches apart, so I'm going to change right here to 6, and I'm going to change this angle to 90, and now I'm going to put my hatch in and hit enter. And they look pretty good. But let's say if it didn't come in absolutely even, if you have a little skinny guy right there, and we'll, these guys are 6 inches apart, that looks like it's about 5.5. You can always adjust the orientation point. So once you put the hatch in, select it, and the dashboard will change again. You're going to set your origin and click right on this little red line right here, and that moved it ever so slightly, and now I've got even an even piece of siding at the corners. I'm going to hit escape. Now I want you to hatch the porch, and we're going to use roof shakes right there. You need to make sure that you're at 1/4 inch equals a foot annotation scale, and we should have checked that earlier. Make sure you've got that set right there. I'm going to H for hatch. Ooh, I want you to be doing the same thing over here. Let's do that as well. One line I want to point out that I put in that you may not have noticed is this yellow line right here. That is the bottom of the siding. Right under here, this is the top of your concrete, your basement sticking up out of the ground. And I got that. Oh, I detached my X reference. I'm going to bring it back. XR for X reference. I'm going to find my building section. And was that it? Yep. And say OK. And I'm just going to put that guy in over here for a moment. I'm going to turn some layers off so we can see. And then I'm going to move him around. And if you'll see, here's the top of the, no, I can get rid of this. Here's the top of the kitchen floor and also the porch. So I'm going to come over and put it right there. Whoops. Sort of, where'd it go? Where'd it go? I lost it. I have to find a better line. Here, I'm going to line up my peaks. All right, here's the top of the kitchen floor, right there. But that is not, you'll see that my siding goes past the kitchen floor. The siding goes all the way down to this yellow line, which is the change between the concrete block and the bottom of the wood framing. So make sure you get that line in there so that your elevation looks more realistic as to how they would build the building. Okay, back to hatching. I'm H for hatch. And I don't want to use this one. What I want to use, I'm going to come down here, open this palette, and go find Architectural Roof Shake. And the ARs are going to be up here somewhere. This one right here, RSHKE. I'm going to click that guy in there. And I'm going to put that in here. And oh my gosh, it came in horizontal because it's still remembering this angle right here. So I'm going to change that back to 0. And the roof shakes are too big. I'm going to change this to half scale. So notice how it flipped. And now I'm going to change this to 0.5 and hit enter. And there we go. And the last thing I'm going to do is adjust it. Oh, and it shouldn't be on the porch. And somewhere I have a gap in there. But I'm going to go here and set my origin point. And I'm going to pick my origin point. It's right there. And notice how it shifted just ever so slightly. And I hit enter. And there we go. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do is hatch the roof. And I'm going to actually get my hatch on this one as well while we're sitting here. I'm going to hatch this one, but you notice it did roof shake, and what I have here is not supposed to be this shake. That only goes on the porch. It should be this one. So I'm going to match properties, pick the good guy, paint the bad guy, and now I'm also going to go back and change my origin point. So I'm selecting it. I just clicked it. You'll see there's a blue grip in the middle. Set my origin point right here, and it moved. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to do, this red line here is the bend in the roof. It's that little line right there. If I extended it over, it comes right there. Okay, so H for hatch. And now I'm going to look for those annotative or ANSI hatches. And when I get them, I'm going to switch to this one. So again, I'm going to go to the bottom arrow here, open it up. I'm looking for the ones that start with AN, and they're way at the top. And I'm going to pick ANSI 35, which has this sort of a dash thing in it, but it's also at an angle, and I don't want it at an angle. If I put it in right now, oh, if I click on this, it just comes in like a solid, and that tells me that I forgot to click annotative. So I'm going to come over here and click annotative. And I'm going, now I can sort of hover. I'm not clicking it, I'm just hovering, and you can see it at an angle. I want this to be at, it goes in at an angle, so I have to put it in at, let's see what if I just touch 45. Does it put it in vertical? Oh, that's not what I want. I want horizontal, so 135. And now let's try it there. Horizontal. And we're going to go back to, I have to switch it back to 1. One more time. There we go. And I want him that height on both the top and the bottom of the angle. Okay, so almost done. I have to hatch the roof over here, but it's going to be different. If you look at your annotative scale down here, we're at 1/4 inch. I want you to switch your annotation scale right now to 1/8 of an inch and go right down here. Okay, and now I want you to hatch this roof. H for hatch. And click inside there, make sure he still says annotative, and look how different he looks here. He looks huge here, and that's exactly what he's supposed to do. We're going to hang on to that and hit enter, and now's a really good time to save. All right, last thing you're going to do before you hand this in is we're going to go down here and you're going to make another layout that's going to put 2 viewports in here. So I want you to go to the plus sign. And if this is unfamiliar to you, go back to the last lecture where we made these layouts. Create a new layout. It says Layout 1. You're going to keep your cursor over the word Layout 1, and you're going to right-click, and you're going to go up and rename it. And you're going to type 11 by 17 hatch, and hit enter. So now you've got a layout, a new layout. Then you're going to select it. So I left clicked on it, and you have a piece of paper. That piece of paper is 8.5 by 11. So we're going to change its properties and make it bigger. First thing we're going to do, if you have a viewport in here and you can see things, just select that viewport and delete it. Now go over here and hover over the tab and right click, not left click, right click. And you're going to go to Page Setup Manager. So left click on Page Setup Manager. It says 8.5 by 11, 11 by 17 hatch. We're going to modify it. And now we're going to switch. Ooh, you're not at home and I'm not at school and you're not at home. Let's see what we're going to do here. I think the way we're going to have to do this, because it doesn't read the school printers, is click on the down arrow, and you, instead of creating a plotter, and here's a trust me, you have to trust me for a little bit. You're going to come down here to this one right here, AutoCAD PDF General Documentation. That one should let us find an 11 by 17. I'm going to left click, and now I'm going to go here and find a paper size that says 11 by 17, and it should be down here at the bottom in ANSI. ANSI B is a 17 by 11, and you should see that it changes right here. And I'm going to change this from none to monochrome. And it's going to stay in layout. We're going to scale the line weights, leave it in landscape. We're not touching anything else, and we're going to say OK. And now you'll see that the 11 by 17 changed here, and the sheet of paper changed, and we can close. All right, I want you to now make 2 viewports, and it doesn't matter to me what layer you're in because we're going to switch them to the viewport layer in a minute. So the first viewport, you're going to make a big viewport that fits half the sheet and a small viewport that fits about 1/4 of the sheet. So making viewports is MV for make viewport. Hit enter. And now you're going to draw your square that takes up about half the piece of paper. Right there. And now you're going to draw, you do that again, but you're going to do it up here. MV for make view. Enter. And draw it about that big. Okay. You're going to select both viewports and switch them to layer viewport, which should be at the very bottom. If you didn't make it, go ahead and make layer viewport. So now they should be pink if they're on layer viewport. Now I want to go and I'm going to double click inside this one. If you don't see your drawing, so when you're in here, if you see blank, I want you to double click on it and type Z, hit enter, and E for extents, and hit enter, and your drawing should show up. Then I want you to zoom in on this one, and you'll see that your roof shingles are not showing up, and that's because this viewport is not set to a 1/4 inch. We put them in at a 1/4 inch, and they're not set to a 1/4 inch. So we have to, if you look down here in the lower corner, it's this weird decimal point. We're going to find 1/4 inch and click it, and he adjusted ever so slightly, and now I can see the shingles. I'm going to make my viewport a little bit bigger and hit escape. So I want to make sure we see the whole thing in there. All right, I'm going to do the same thing with this viewport, only I'm going to do the other elevation, and I want it in at 1/8 inch. So I'm going to double click to get inside this one, pan around, zoom in. This one's not going to fit as well. I'm going to come down here and switch this to 1/8 inch. And there it is. And you'll notice that the dashes on the shingles look the exact same size on both of them. And if I go back to model space, they do not look the same. These guys look smaller in scale. They look markedly different. If you go back to your hatch, and that's what an ANSI hatch does. I'm going to adjust this viewport so they're not overlapping. There we go. So for the assignment, you're going to create this layout, 11 by 17 hatch, 2 viewports, one set to 1/4 inch, one set to 1/8 inch, and then hatch these elevations, save it, and submit that to the Dropbox in D2L. And there we go.